Hello everyone, it is Wednesday, and that means it's time for another Cracker Pack. We're doing some more Rivals of Ixalan, and we're going to open this pack and talk about what we would first pick out of it in Limited. And I'll talk about my thoughts right now on every card in this pack in Rivals of Ixalan Limited. We'll just go card by card. Alright, so our first common is Brazen Freebooter. It's nothing special, but it's fine. You play one in a lot of red decks, especially if you're splashing. You know, it has mediocre stats for what it costs, but it does help you ramp, and more importantly, it helps you fix. And it happens to be a pirate, but you definitely don't want to be first picking it. Next, we have Divine Verdict. I've been largely underwhelmed with it. It's fine. The problem with it in this format is that it kills... the format's still so fast that most of the time you're just killing small things with it, and that's a horrible deal when you're... especially because it can only kill attackers or blockers. So, you know, people can play around it. You have to leave up 4 mana to cast it. It's not that hard to play around it. Yeah, it's just not, it's fine. I mean, I would play one in most of my white decks if I had one, but I wouldn't take it early at all because it's just not close to premium removal. Next we have Spirewinder. This card has overperformed a little bit. It's frequently enough of 4 mana, 3/4 flying that it's fine. But it's, you know, kind of like Divine Verdict. You'll play one in most of your blue decks, but you shouldn't go after it early. It's nothing special. Okay, next we have Knight of the Stampede, and I think for me right now, it's the first pick, even over Divine Verdict, which is removal, just not great removal. This card can just enable some insane turns on turn 5 where you play like an insane amount of mana worth of dinosaurs because it makes them so much cheaper. It has good stats too. It can block a lot of things on the board on turn 4. And yeah, so it's what I would take right now. I doubt it will remain that way because the pack would have to be fairly weak to just want to take Knight of the Stampede first, but it could happen. Next, you have Recover. This card's fine. It's, again, another card you play one of in most black decks. This pack, other than Knight of the Stampede, has been pretty mediocre so far. But, you know, they're all playables. Recover's a playable. It gets even better in a deck where you have Bombs or Chupacabra, because obviously getting back anything with a powerful end of the battlefield trigger gives you an additional card of value. I mean, as it stands, this thing basically gives you a 2-for-1. So if you get something back that, like the Chupacabra, you're getting a 3-for-1, which is kind of insane. Next, you have Plummet, quality sideboard card. Never take it early. You can usually pick up a couple without too much effort. Okay, now we're getting some bad cards, like Dark Inquiry. This is a sideboard card, but it's like a sideboard D-. The only time I've sided it in is basically in situations where my opponent is like a crazy ramp deck, and I know they're trying to cast like Zatalpa, because in that case, they're going to be clutching cards in their hand late, and I can still hit something with it, and it's been fine there, but there aren't that many decks that are like, I'm going to play Zatalpa or Zakama running around. It's good against them when you do play them, though. Okay, we have a new first pick, Luminous Bonds. This is premium removal. It just shows you, it's just so much better than, what is it even called? Divine Verdict. Because for 1 less mana, it just shuts down anything. Now, granted, it has its weaknesses. The fact that it can't shut down static or activated abilities on creatures that have those is annoying. It can be, your opponent can bounce their own creatures and get it off, but Luminous Bonds is still way better than Divine Verdict because you can put it on a creature whenever you want. I mean, it's sorcery speed, but they don't have to be attacking or blocking. You can use it aggressively, you can use it defensively. It's just a good card, and it's what I would first pick right now over Knight of the Stampede. Next, we have Sworn Guardian. This guy's basically the poster child for mediocre. You'll play it in a world where you have all the Merfolk payoffs. Other than that, you probably won't. It's actually not the worst sideboard card ever. People often don't think of like a 1/3 being a sideboard card. They think of things like Plummet, but against an opponent with a lot of X2/1s especially, and X1s in general, it gets to actually be pretty good. And there are a lot of 2/1s in this format. Like, if you have 2 Sworn Guardians, they can block that 2-mana 2/1 Menace Pirate, and that's pretty hilarious. Okay, now we have Impale, which I think I like more than Luminous Bonds. It costs 1 mana more, but it just kills something. No questions asked. It doesn't care about activated or triggered abilities. One weakness it has over Luminous Bonds is it's harder to splash, so you're not guaranteed to play it as much if you pick it, but it is a good removal spell, and I think I like it more than Luminous Bonds. Okay, we got Relentless Raptor. I'm not a huge fan of this card. Obviously, it's fine in an aggro deck, but compared to the other signpost uncommons, like it's not the kind that you're like, man, I'm so glad I'm in red-white because I got this guy. He's just okay. I mean, the fact he just isn't going to live very long in most scenarios because of the fact that it has to attack or block every combat. The one thing it has going for it is that red and white does have combat tricks and auras, and if you can really get those rolling, you can blow people out pretty hard with Relentless Raptor. Next, we have Expel from Orazka. This is pretty good. I think I have it after Impale and Luminous Bonds, though, but this is a card that's first pickable in some weaker packs. I mean, a 2-mana Dispel effect to bounce something is good, and in the late game, it turns into a much more powerful effect wherein you get to time ebb it to the top of their library, which actually gives you a full card advantage instead of just tempo, because your opponent now is just drawing the card they already had in play. Next, we have Majestic Heliopterus. This thing is fine, but it has really underwhelmed me. I think I had it as like the third best white uncommon, and I'm not really sure it's there anymore. It just dies to all the removal, and unlike a lot of the 2/2 creatures running around, you actually dislike it when this gets killed because they're killing it with like a 2-mana removal spell, and you paid 4, so you're falling behind. If you're like 2-mana 2/1 gets killed by a 2-mana removal spell, it doesn't feel nearly as bad. It is still fine. You'll play 1 in your dinosaur decks, but I don't think I'm into taking it early. Okay, this is an interesting rare, not one I've had a chance to play with or against, but I know it's pretty powerful, and that is Temple Altasaur. So this, you know, 5-mana 3/4 is not great, but making it so all of your creatures, well, your dinosaurs, let's hope a lot of your creatures are dinosaurs if you're playing this, can't die, basically, unless they're X1s, is pretty good. The problem with taking it early is that you may not end up in a dinosaur deck. It's also not like incredible because it doesn't prevent damage to itself, so your opponent can still just kill it with a damage spell. I mean, Bombard kills it, and that's a pretty bad feeling. It's not an easy pick because Temple Altasaur has some good upside, but it's not like incredible upside, and the question is whether or not it's the value it can bring you is better than Impale or Luminous Bonds for that matter. I think in the end I'm just going to take Impale. This one I think is going to be more debatable than some of the ones. It seems like a lot of times when I do a Crack-a-Pack I open a powerful rare, but in this case we open one that's good, but I don't know that it's strong enough that I want to take it with a first pick over quality removal like Impale, or again, even Luminous Bonds. I think I have the Altasaur third in this pack, followed by Knight of the Stampede, so... But I would be interested in a debate about it because that's not a pick I'm like 100% sure about. It's definitely one you have to think about. So let me know in the comments what you would take, and I'll see you guys again next week for another Crack-a-Pack. And of course, tomorrow I have a Rivals of Ixalan draft video going up too, so don't forget to check that out.